All right, we've got Ileane Smith joining us. She's a blogger, podcaster, YouTuber, social media diva, and an excellent instructor. So welcome to the show, Ileane.
Ooh, hey.
How are you doing?
That fixed. Hang on. Hey.
All right, you're a little less washed out. And I've got the sun shining through my window right now, which wasn't happening.
Yes.
So what are you up to?
Well, actually, I'm glad you're talking about podcasting sponsorships because actually my podcast had been on hiatus until about a month ago. So I'm back.
Behind
the mic. So I had to focus on different things, with me doing the YouTube as well.
Yes. So do you ever take your YouTube videos and just extract the audio and put it up on your podcast?
Yes and no.
Okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? I mean, if you're clicking, it's kind of hard to have that as an audio.
What happened was I was interviewed on a Google Hangout on air by my friend Wade Harmon. And I used that interview. I extract the audio from that and put that up as an episode of the podcast.
Okay.
So that's why I say yes and no, because it wasn't really my it wasn't really
yours?
It was his video, but he's so kind. He let me do that. So yeah.
Of course, it's just more promotion, more exposure for him. Of course he will.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if you want, I'll send you this recording and you can chop up and take whatever you want and use it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what's your podcast?
It's the Miss Ileane Speaks podcast.
Ooh, what does Miss Ileane speak about?
Blogging, social media, and YouTube. Yep. And so now I'm actually recording my podcast on Blab.
I think that's a great idea. I actually do two things now. Like, it's funny because people say, like, what sort of, how should you do it? And it's like, the Blab is the easiest and Google Hangouts is second easiest. So depending on the structure of the content, I use one or the other almost all the time. Right? I'm trying to think of the last time. I mean, unless I use like my phone to record two of us and we're out somewhere, like at an event or something like that. But if I'm home, why would I not make a video? And why would I not, take advantage of the people here and the people on YouTube and everywhere that you can put it?
Yeah, and the thing I love about Blab is how they send us the audio file. So there's just one less step. We don't have to extract anything. They already send us a link to download that audio file. So I absolutely thought, and I'm very comfortable on Blab because for the most part, Scott, I'm on Blab just about every day. Well, actually every day. I shouldn't even say just about. I've been on Blab every day since I joined. And it's been 130 something days. So
130 Blabs?
Well, I'm not always hosting.
No, but I mean,
like right now, I'm on your Blab. So, and I was actually on earlier. So, but every day I make sure that I get on camera and that, my voice is heard.
Your voice is
on Blab.
Heard.
Yep. And so, I'm comfortable. I feel comfortable here. It's just like, my second home, even though I am home.
So what different, obviously it's made some difference to you. Like, what are some of the advantages of having been on Blab that much?
Well, in terms of the podcast, let me just speak specifically in terms of the podcast, because like I said, I feel comfortable here. And so one of the challenges that I had with the podcast was writing up the show notes and doing all the editing. So I decided that in order to just get it done, be more consistent, I will write my show notes ahead of time, because I wasn't doing that before. I was just talking off the top of my head. I had bullet points, but I didn't have show notes.
Right.
So
how long are your show notes?
Well, and that's the other thing. I'm keeping the episode short. I'm keeping the episode shorter. And so this way, all I really have to do is some editing. But because Blab lets you pause the recording, okay, so a lot of times I'll start, I'm reading from my script, and I let my audience know, guys, I'm recording the podcast. In about 10 or 15 minutes, I'll be done reading, and then I'll open up the seats and we'll, have conversation. So what happened just yesterday was the conversation got so good after I finished that I turned the recording back on. And it went on for an hour, but I didn't want to put all of that on the show because, like I said, I'm keeping them shorter now.
Right.
But there were some golden nuggets that, were very on topic about what I was talking about, which was YouTube. And so I was able to just extract those little parts. And then I came back afterwards because I used Audacity to edit. And then I just explained, okay, so now I'm on Blab, guys, and there's 4 people. And I said who the people were. Well, it was 3, including myself. Right. And then there was another snippet. And I said, now this question came from the chat. And this person wanted to know such and such. And then I added in the part where I answered the question. And then some of the other blabbers were contributing to that question as well. So, but like I said, it went on. So I got tons of content if I ever want to revisit that topic, because we had some of the best blabbers, and even the people that were asking the questions were on point. They asked good questions. And
quality of your life depends on the quality of your questions, someone said to me once.
Yes. I mean, because sometimes people get off topic, and there's nothing wrong with that in a blab. But with a podcast, you don't want to just be all over the place.
No, that's right.
I was talking about YouTube, and so then the questions came up about Periscope. And it was like, okay, I really don't want that Periscope part in there. So that's the part that I didn't put. But later on, now if I do a different episode and I'm talking about Periscope, I got that Periscope stuff that I can grab from yesterday and plop into another episode, because the Periscope stuff was good. It just wasn't relevant to YouTube.
We have 2 questions, which is great. Walter just asked, what constitutes a good question?
Yep. And I kind of just answered that, Walter, but I'll just do it a little bit more detail. And for a podcast, I think it's different. But if the question is on topic, okay, so if you're going to add, like if you were to just say right now and ask a blab question, because I saw this happen earlier in a blab today, and somebody said, how do I reply to somebody on blab? And it was like totally off topic. It was a good question, but it was totally off topic for what that particular blab was about. They asked a blab question. So that, I hope that helps answer.
So I'll jump in on that.
What do you think, Scott?
We're talking about sponsorship, and Jeff also put a question, and he kind of pulled it back to the sponsorship topic. So a good question is, what does your sponsor want? Okay. And how can you provide what your sponsor wants? Now, Martin Wales was going to be joining me, and he, like a lot of people say, well, I haven't done a podcast, or my podcast has 2 downloads a month, or it's, I'm just starting out. How can I get sponsors? And he says, that's the best time to go for sponsors. And then someone else will say, well, I've got, 100,000 downloads a week. What should I do about sponsors? He says, oh, you're in a great position to be to get a sponsor. So it doesn't matter. It's always a good time to get a sponsor. But if you're just starting out, you can say, I'm going to be launching my podcast, Mr. Sponsor. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. And we expect, because I've got Ileane on board and Scott on board, that we're going to be able to, touch about 10 million people. You add up this and you add up that and you add up this and you add up that. And the next thing you know, you have a huge number because, there's 39 million people on Twitter, and Ileane covers, half of that, and Scott covers 2% of it. So that gives you, and away you go with your figures, right? Stats are beautiful. Like, there's stats, and lies. I think they're all the same. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest question, is what does your sponsor want? Okay. And then how can you do it? I always think of it as an irresistible offer. Okay. I was going to say an irresistible question, but I've done some courses with some co-instructors on Udemy. And when I talk to them, I say, well, I'm going to do this. You're going to show up for an hour and a half and answer the list of questions that you gave me on the topic that you're the expert of. And then I'm going to edit and do this. And then you're going to watch the hour. So it's going to take you 2.5 hours to put up a course. What do you think? And they go, well, okay, right? And I do the same thing when I want to co-host or not a sponsor or a guest on my podcast. I'll say, you know what? We're going to talk for about 10 minutes. I actually blatantly lie. And can you afford to take 10 minutes out of your day so that I can just call you up on Skype, or we can do a Blab or whatever. And I know anybody who's excited about their topic cannot ever talk for 10 minutes. And it's going to be 20 minutes, which is kind of what I aim for. It might be a little bit longer. That's okay. And as long as they know, okay, it's 10 minutes, and I'm going to say, we need a little bit of time at the beginning to kind of get warmed up before we go on air, and a little time at the end to kind of debrief. So don't just schedule 10 minutes and then you got to go. We want to be able to be relaxed about this. So most of them aren't that strict on their schedule. So the result is I get a great chat with them. I get a great connection with them, and they've joined in. So when it comes to questions, in my opinion, it's, what advances the conversation. Like, there are closed questions and open questions. Closed question is, Ileane, do you have the light on in your room? Yes. Right? And what's she going to say after that, right? But an open question would be, Ileane, I love your glasses. I have glasses too, and I've been thinking about getting new ones. Where did you get those? Like, I need to know, the Ileane line of glasses. And of course, what's going to happen is she's then going to go off and talk about this for as long as, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, as long as she has, excitement about that topic. So if you want to just sort of get information like quickly, that's the yes, no answer, or is your light on or off on sort of thing. Those are closed questions. They don't invite huge discussions. And then the other side of it is you want the people to express more. So what is it that the sponsor wants? You could even ask them, what's really important to you in your business? Is it important being, with lots of goodwill, or is it important, are you in a high sales growth period, or, what is, and once you kind of get that, you can sort of twist and turn and make sure that's what you're giving them. You want to give them what they want, and you want to be clear on what you want. And I'm going to bounce. I think Jeff asked another question, but you just put something here. So it's interesting. Let me play the devil's advocate. The potential sponsor, in my opinion, is just about anybody that could help pay the bills per se. Here's the rub. In my opinion, I have to have the working knowledge to be a host or even a specialist. That will lead more listeners to me. Does that make sense? Yes. I could have the greatest voice in the world, but if I don't have a basic theme, won't I be describing the straws? So, Jeff, I think what you're talking about is that you need to have an area that you want to specialize in, or that you want to talk about, right? So it's not, yes, sir, he says. So that's your first decision. It's like, what are you really passionate about? What are you really excited about? What do you really want to do?